Hello guys, welcome back. Today we are going to continue to talk about factoring, but today we're going to talk about what to do when you are factoring and there's a coefficient in the front of your trinomial. Alright, so a trinomial, as we know, is written in the term ax squared plus bx plus c, meaning we have an x term in the front, we have an x term in the middle, and then we have some constant c on the end. A, B, and C are just numbers, so that you can see that here in this example, we have 3x squared minus 11x plus 5. What we're going to have to do in order to get our factors and sums is be able to identify the part of the equation that's our A, our B, and our C, all right? A is always going to be in front of x squared. No matter how the equation is arranged, x squared and A go together. So for instance here, if the equation is 3x squared, that means that the value of A is 3 because A is what's in front of x squared. The value of B is going to be negative 11 because B is whatever is attached to x. So our B would be negative 11. And then C is the constant. It is the number that is by itself. And so here the constant will be 5. So today when we are setting up our factors and sums, we're first going to have to identify A, B, and C in order for us to factor. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So how our equations are going to differ from the ones we saw on Monday. On Monday, we only had x squared. We did not have a number in front of x squared, and so that's going to make today different. So what we're going to do is we first are going to identify A, B, and C. All right, so if we do that, we can see here that our A is 2, B is 11, and C is 5. Now we want to do the same thing that we did also on Monday. We want to find the factors and we want to find the sum. However, today, when we find the factors, your factors are of A times C. So when we find our factors, we need to multiply A times C. So according to this, A is 2 and C is 5. So we are looking for factors of 10 that sum. We're still using the middle value as our B, so that hasn't changed. So our B value is going to be 11. So I'm looking for two numbers that when I multiply them, I get 10, but when I add them, I get 11. Rewrite this in. We want factors of 10 and we want the sum to equal 11. And if we need to, we can write out our factors just like we talked about. So we have 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. These are really the only ways we can multiply to get 5. And we want to know which one is going to sum 11. Well, 1 and 10 sums 11 and 2 and 5 sum 7. So we are looking for this pair here. So I'm going to be using 1 and 10. Okay? So now that we know what factors we are going to use, we're going to set up our box the exact same way that we set it up on Monday. So nothing has changed. Our first term is going to go in the first box. Our last term goes in the last box. And then remember, we want the middle to equal the middle. So this has to equal 11x. And so that's where this sum part came in. We wanted it to equal 11x. Let's scoot it over just. Okay. All right. So now that we know the factors that are going to work, 1 and 10 are going to be our factors. So remember, we put those numbers inside these two squares for the factors. So my factors are 1x and 10x, all right? Now, to get our binomials on the outside, we're gonna have to factor out the GCF, meaning that we wanna take out what these things have in common. Keeping with what we did on Monday, this first box has an x squared, so I know I'm gonna be able to take out an x. But x times x only gives me x squared, and I need this to be 2x squared. So I gotta figure out in which direction can I take out a 2, meaning which one can I divide both numbers by 2. If I look this way, okay, this has a 2, this has a 1. I cannot divide 1 by 2, right? That doesn't work. So I'm not gonna be able to take the 2 out from there, but if I look the other way, If I look up here, 2 and 10, these both can be divided by 2. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to factor out a 2. Okay, so I'm going to factor out a 2 because these have a common factor of 2. And now we can kind of play around like we did before to figure out what else goes outside. So here I have 2x, but I need 10x. So I need to figure out what can I multiply by 2x to get 10x, right? And then you should see that 2 times positive 5 is going to give me 10. So that's going to be 5 that we're going to bring out here. And sorry, that's not a negative, that's just a 5, okay? And so then this last box, and we can use kind of anything that we want here. I need to get a positive 5 here, so 5 times what is equal to 5? And we should see that 5 times positive 1 is equal to 5. Or you could have said x times what is equal to 1x, and it still works. X times 1 is 1x. So either one of those would have worked, and so now we have our 2 binomials. So this tells me that if I want to find the 2 factors of this, we just did that. Our factors would be x plus 5 is a factor, and then our other factor is from up top, 2x plus 1. So these things here are our factors. So that means that if I take this and I break it down, these are the 2 things that were multiplied together in order to get that trinomial, okay? So again, this would be the answer that we are looking for. X plus 5 and 2x plus 1, okay? All right, let's try another example. Now that we've seen it all the way through, as you keep doing them, you keep practicing, you'll get better and better, and it'll look a lot easier. I know it's a lot the first time, all right? Let's take a look at number 2. And this time I'm going to set up the box first. I find that sometimes it's helpful if I do that, so I'm going to do the order a little bit different here. And I'm going to set up my box first so that you can see it's just like we talked about last time. So in the first box, we will put 5x squared. In the last box, I'm going to put 12. And then remember that the middle box, we want it to equal the middle. So this is going to have to equal 19x, okay? So I need to figure out what my factors are, so I'm going to do my factors and sums. So this is A, B, and C. So we want the factors to equal, and then remember here, A times C. So my factors are going to be 5 times 12, okay? And 5 times 12 is 60, and I want the sum is the middle, right? We look over there, the sum has to equal 19x. So I list my factors of 60. If you need your chart, remember the chart, I uploaded it on the Schoology folder for Monday. So we have 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 5 times 12, 6 times 10, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So we're looking for which one of these is going to add up to 19. And if we take a look at this, we can see right here that 4 and 15 will add together to give me 19. So that tells me that that is the pair that is going to work. So we're going to use 4 and 15. So those are going to be the factors that I put inside of my box. So again, the order doesn't matter. So here I'm going to put 4x, and then the other one was 15x, okay? And then now we want to start pulling stuff out. And so remember that this first square, we're always going to have an x and an x. And then we want to figure out which direction we can pull, 5 and 4 or 5 and 15. So you're either going to pull to the side or you're going to pull up, okay? In this case, it looks like 5 and 15. You should notice here that for both of those, I can pull out a 5, And so I'm going to pull out a 5, because these both can be divided by 5. And so 5x times x, that gives me 5x squared. And then now if I look here, I need 15. So 5 times something is going to give me 15. So I need to figure out what goes here. Okay? Hopefully you said a positive 3. So 5 times positive 3 would give me 15x. So that's going to be a plus 3 here. And then now if I look at my last square is 12, I need to figure out how do I get a 12. So 3 times something is equal to 12, or something times x is equal to 4x. They're both going to give you the same answer, so you can do either one. And you should come up with here, we need a positive 4, because 4 times x will give me 4x, and 4 times 3 will give me 12. So either way that you do it, they're both going to need a positive 4. So now that my square is complete, I can write my factors. And so it looks like this time our factors are going to be x plus 3 and 5x plus 4. And again, it doesn't matter what order you write your factors. I could have put 5x plus 4 first. Doesn't matter as long as you have them both written with the correct signs. Okay? Wrong side. Right, there we go. Okay, and so again, this is the answer we would be looking for down here. All right, what I want you to do on the next one is I want you to pause the video, see if you can set up your factors and your sums, and see if you can write your factors. Okay, hopefully you pause the video, and let's see if you set up your problem the same way that I did. So I start with 3x squared and positive 4. And then looking at this, I'm looking for factors of, I'm going to use F and S for factors and sums like I did on Monday, just abbreviating a little bit. So I want factors to equal 12, and I want the sum to equal negative 8. And so again, we have a negative, so we talked about how to address that. And so the factors that are going to work, I need a positive 12, and somehow I'm going to get 8. So that's going to be negative 6 and negative 2. So hopefully if you pause the video, you came up with those two factors. Because when I multiply the two negatives, I get a positive 12, and then when I add them, I get negative 8. All right, so these are the factors that I want to use. It doesn't matter where I put the factors, I can put them anywhere. So I have a negative 6x here, and then I have a negative 2x here. And then I just check when I add those together. Yep, they equal negative 8x, which is what I wanted. Again, we know that we're going to have an x on each side of this square. And then I want to see which direction can I pull. Can I pull from 3 and 2, or can I pull from 3 and 6? You should see that 3 and 6 can both be divided by 3. So I'm going to pull a 3 out from here. All right, so 3x times x is going to give me 3x squared. Now in this box, I need a negative 2x. Well, I already have an x up here, so that means here, I gotta have a negative 2. And then again, to get this square, you can look at either one of these. I just like to look at the bottom one because it's just a number. So negative 2 times what is gonna give me a positive 4? Well, if this is a negative, this has to be a negative because I need two negatives to make that a positive. And then 2 times 2 is 4. So if you did this and you paused the video, hopefully you did, you should end up with your factors are 3x minus 2 and x minus 2, okay? These are the two factors that you should have come up with. All right, you got one last example. I'm going to show you something that sometimes happens when we are factoring. Sometimes when you're factoring, instead of it being a trinomial, it's actually a binomial, right? Even though this looks different, we are not going to change anything about the process. But this is why it's important to label your A, B, and C. So remember what we said before, A is always in front of the x squared, and C is by itself. What you'll notice here is that your B is missing. And so what this tells us is that our B is going to be 0 because there is no middle term. So we're going to have to use B for 0 because we still need that when we're trying to figure out our factors and sums. So we are looking for factors of negative 36, because remember, it is A times C, so 4 times negative 9 is negative 36. And then the sum is going to be 0, because our B value is 0. So I'm looking for ways that I can multiply to get negative 36, but add to get 0. So the factors of 36, alright, we know that one of these is going to have to be negative because we have a negative 36, and I want it to be 0. The only way we can get 0 is if the numbers cancel themselves out. So the only thing that's going to cancel out are the 6's, and we just got to make one of them negative. So negative 6 times positive 6 gives me negative 36, and then when I add them, I get 0, right? So this would equal 0. So this is the pair that I'm looking for. So we set up our box. First square is 4x squared. Here we have a negative 9. Don't forget the negative. And then we want them to equal up to 0. And so our factors were negative 6x and that should be a positive 6x. And a positive 6x. And so now we want to see what we can factor out. Again, starting with my first square, I know they have to have an x. I want to see what they have in common. Now, since the coefficients are the same, 4 and 6, 4 and 6, it means that I can pull the same number from both directions. So 4 and 6 can both be divided by 2. So I'm going to pull out a 2. And also the same thing here, because 2, I need another 2 up here in order to get 4. So 2 times 2 is now giving me the 4, and then I have the 2 x's. All right, so now I look at this bottom square. I have 2x, but I need 6x. So in order to get 6, that means I have to multiply this by a positive 3. So 2 times 3 is going to give me positive 6. And then looking at this last square, I need to get a negative 9. So 3 times 3 will give me 9, but I need it to be a negative, so that means that that needs to be a negative 3. So then we're going to end up with factors that look very similar. It's just our signs are different. So we have 2x plus 3, and then we have 2x minus 3, right? And we need that sign to be different so that right here we end up getting 0. And we get 0 because they're the exact same, but they have the opposite signs. And whenever that happens, that means that your middle term is going to cancel out, okay? All right, so that's it. There should be an assignment in the Schools U folder for you to practice some of these. And if you have questions, as always, you can join me on the live sessions every Tuesday and Thursday, 10:45 to 11:30. All right, see you guys next week.